Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 780. I'm Tom Kelley, your host. Today, the SPaMCAST 780 features our interview with Billie Johnson. Our discussion focused on the role of delivering outcomes and values using Agile teams. We also discussed her book, Mastering Business Analysis Practices, 7 Steps to the Next Level of Competency, which she co-authored with Kelley Burns. Billie Johnson, co-author of Mastering Business Analysis Standard Practices, 7 Steps to the Next Level of Competency. Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Great. Thank you very much, Tom.
I'm going to let the listeners know that I had a technical error the last time and, something ate up or did some really nasty things to our recording. So this is actually, we're doing this again. And so I almost said, welcome back to the Software Process Measurement Cast. It was an excellent conversation. Let's have another excellent conversation. Let's actually start with the easy stuff. There's this thing called business analysis. What is it?
Well, I wish it were as easy as that, right?
Oh, no.
But I do think, if we hearken back to what the International Institute of Business Analysis and Project Management Institute say that business analysis is, I think there's some powerful words packed in that definition. It considered the set of activities that enable change being the first really important word there, in an enterprise by defining needs being another huge aspect of this definition, and then being able to recommend solutions being a part of the core competencies there too, that deliver continuous value being the fourth here, and to the stakeholders. So 5 core competencies there: change, needs, solutions, value, stakeholders. And the 6th one is context. In what context is this initiative considering? So with that, I think we just look back at, there's this natural gut reaction that people have when they identify an obstacle in their path or an opportunity to exploit, to immediately go to that solution mode rather than really trying to understand what the problem is. So here in the definition of business analysis, that first thing that comes up is enable change through defining the need, not getting to the solution first. Solution is a part of that to recommend that, but I just find that most folks have no trouble seeing the solution. It's the problem that really eludes them. So making sure that we're solving the right thing, I think.
If we see a solution, but we don't know what the need is, wouldn't that generally lead to a sort of a less than optimum outcome?
Absolutely. I mean, so many times we want someone else. It's like that Dilbert cartoon that Dilbert goes to the stakeholder and says, what are your requirements? And they say, can you tell me what those are? They've only found the shiny object. And there's claims by the vendor that that's going to solve all their problems, right? So I know this much, the stakeholders delve into what the problem statement is only slightly. And with identifying problems, sometimes it can get political too, right? Because somebody may be identifying that there was a better way to do something. So it's real easy to just blame everything on the application rather than maybe business processes are involved. There's a whole lot of different aspects of problem definition. It's not always just an IT fix, too.
Well, I buy that as not always being 100% IT. Maybe IT is not even the majority of the solution. It occurred to me as I was prepping and getting everything back together for this, where does the whole concept of business analysis really fit? Does it fit as part of the business or does it fit in IT?
Yeah. The answer is it depends, right? Which
Are you a consultant?
I have had that title in the past, yeah. But there are sometimes the business analysts that are sitting in the IT department drawing a paycheck there, which makes it really hard to go talk to the business owners and say, I have your best interest in mind. Because there's sometimes that friction between the business side and the IT side. Sometimes they live in the business. I feel like the best place for the business analyst to live is actually in a center of excellence where we develop repeatable processes to conduct business analysis and then be like an internal consulting group that can go out and work on different projects. And I've worked in all three of those realms, and I feel like the best is that center of excellence that you have a business analysis group, or even within a PMO, if it's very separated from the IT or the business ownership.
Which is more common today?
I still see more in IT.
Yeah, I think I do too. And if it makes sense to have some degree of separation, and there are all sorts of biases when your boss, the person who's going to do your annual performance review. I mean, we could argue that performance reviews are actually evil and probably create all sorts of bad problems, but they're going to do it anyway. And therefore, who are you going to sort of buddy up to?
Right. It's just like if IT's signing your paycheck, you are going to err on the side of what IT wants to build for this fluffy paragraph that the business gave us for what they needed, right?
Absolutely. When we originally talked about the whole idea of doing this interview, one of the things that struck me was that there is such a thing as a business analysis professional. What's the difference between a business analysis professional and just a business analyst that is in IT these days?
Yeah, I think probably for half a century now, we've had a perception, or the perception has been out there, that the BA, the business analyst, is simply a documenter, a requirements documenter, that they're to go talk to a whole bunch of different people and write down what they were told. There's a perception that they're the note taker at every single meeting, whether it's their meeting or not. They're the meeting organizer. They're going to send out the invites. Any materials that need to be distributed, physical or electronic, that's their role. They test. I could go on about the aspects of this 50 years that we've spent calling these people business analysts. So I think to flip the script and call them a business analysis professional, maybe analysis will come to the forefront of the work that we're doing versus being the admin assistant to the project manager, to the sponsor, whoever that might be. It's not in every organization, but I do see it across many organizations that they leave out this analysis piece. And I hope what we get by referring to business analysis professionals is identifying that this is a profession that you can grow in, that we need people that are skilled at business analysis and they can move forward with that. So it's a shift in mindset that the IIBA, that I push, are saying we can call them business analysts, but let's start reshifting our idea of having strategic thinking, having change advocates, people that are forward thinking, that could anticipate the needs in the future, that we may be implementing a commercial off the shelf and trying to decide which vendor. And all things equal, maybe both of these two vendors are on the same track, but there's one that maybe in the future we could use more of their things. An inquisitive nature, being really curious, being able to ask those right questions are really important. And just understanding, and we already hit upon this, that there's a multidimensional aspect to our projects, right? In one project, it may have some business process, some maybe AI that needs to be considered, cybersecurity, being done in an agile framework, and the conventional SDLC, systems development lifecycle within the organization, may just be seeing this as an IT project. So being able to help identify those impacts, the changes, the risk, the stakeholder engagement, when all of these things are going to come into play. Having that open-mindedness to engage stakeholders. And it's really tough because I think we're all human and we have a biased opinion of what maybe the right solution is. And just a BA instead of a business analysis professional could really start to bias the questions to get the right answer. Help the stakeholders tell you the right answer, right? So I think it's more of a mind shift that we need to get to rather than an admin assistant is the common idea of what a business analyst is.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The organizations tend to find some role to dump that in. I think in a lot of organizations, I actually see that admin role being the project manager role. It's like, well, administrative, and I don't think either one of those two roles are probably cut out for that. It's just the wrong application of those sorts of people.
Yep.
Hard question. The business analysis professional, is that a role that is going to be supplanted by AI?
I think AI can help churn a lot of data so that we have the information to be able to pull all these aspects together. I have to say, Tom, I am not sure. I have been, around since we had neural networks in the 80s and all that stuff, but now it's real. It wasn't real before. And I think it's to be seen how much they'll be able to take over aspects. But, I don't know how much forward thinking they'll be able to do rather than just churn through data and make observations and provide out that. I think that question is too hard for me.
Yeah. I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, it is a hard question.
I certainly hope the answer is that they'll supplement roles, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I heard recently about it was something for snake bite that they had come up with trying to identify the right medicine for snake bites. What am I trying to say? Venom. Antidote.
Or anti-venom, antitoxin, something. Yeah.
Right. And what would have taken them 2 years to test all the different combinations and that type of thing, they could get through within 2 months. I mean, how great is that when we start thinking about disease and stuff? So I'm really excited about what the future can bring. How much we as humans are going to have to shift? Well, change is inevitable.
I agree 100%. You've used the term value manager for business analyst before. Why the value manager?
Well, I think the business analysis professional is in a unique position to be able to ensure that the solution value that was expected way back there in the visioning and a justification built for that initiative throughout the solution's life actually gets achieved. So right now, and I think in the future, we're in a world of delivering pieces and parts of a solution very quickly. And many times the solution providers and even the domain subject matter experts can start to morph the actual goals and objectives and derail the train, so to speak. Those folks that made those decisions to fund these initiatives are not on the ground as these pieces and parts are being built. So in many delivery frameworks, no one is managing that overall value and keeping the train on the track, hence value manager. I didn't coin this term. Rather, in a weekend workshop with Alistair Coburn, one of our rock stars, right, in business analysis. Well, he may not want to be called a business analysis rock star, but the Agile rock star. But this workshop was to discover if there's a viable role for business analysis at all in the Agile world. And he was skeptical in the beginning of that weekend. At the end of the weekend, he said, I get it. The business analyst should be renamed the value manager. So even now, I still get chills, right?
Wow. So who plays that role on a cross-functional Agile team? Who would be the value manager?
Well, and by a cross-functional team, I think we're talking about people that can code and test and all that stuff.
Take an idea from ideation all the way to solution.
Yeah.
All the pieces, parts.
So the product owner is identified by the Scrum flavor of Agile, right? A more change-driven approach as the person that can answer all the questions that the team has. Maybe that role plays the value manager. I've always felt like the product owner needs to have a whole lot of knowledge about the particular sprint of what's being built in that sprint. So I've seen successful Agile teams change out their product owner, maybe MVP to MVP, minimal viable product, and then as they move on to maybe a different area of that domain and building this out, another product owner comes in. So who's seeing that overall? I think there's still a role for a business analysis professional, even if they're not assigned only one sprint team. So I did a lot of work with Walmart, for instance. And as they moved to an Agile framework, which they thought they never would, the train was too big to move around like that, but eventually did. And that allowed for business analysis professionals to kind of be that value manager across many teams. Maybe you have insight to scaled Agile initiatives that have that scrum of scrum where the scrum masters come together. But I think it's still just trying to make sure all the gears stay in place and not really looking at the value, which overall business analysis professionals don't end at the end of the initiative, or their engagement does not end. Somebody, whether it's that same business analysis professional or not, is responsible for the product throughout its life. So enabling change and ensuring that value is received by the stakeholders, going back to that
it almost
definition.
seems like it belongs in that slice, that product slice, whether it be product management or product ownership, as an enabler, right, in terms of the individual groups. The problem, anytime I always worry, especially in larger efforts, when you have one person interacting with multiple teams, is who's the top priority and how you actually manage that across, right? It's 3:00 on a Friday afternoon and I need to have a half-hour discussion, or we're stuck until, sometime next week. And so do three other teams. Who gets that person first? And obviously you can't, well, I don't think it would be nice, but I guess you could slice that person into 3 or 4 chunks and let them go places, but they probably wouldn't answer the questions or have the right discussion at that point.
Right.
So it gets hard. Interesting. It is interesting. So, the whole idea of enablement, and if we look at sort of topology of teams, there are teams that are aligned to the flow, and then there are definitely enablers. So, it is distinctly possible that if something like the value manager has to interact or is a fractional person on each team, that they're going to have to do time slicing, and they're going to have to act as some sort of enabler. That becomes a logistics problem.
Yeah. And the interesting thing about this is that project management does have established authority over the initiative, at least, right? Whereas with business analysis, we have to lead without authority. We don't have people reporting to us, that type of thing. And so that leadership and influencing that is required to get that audience that you describe is pretty important. I worked at Freddie Mac for 7 years. They're pretty bureaucratic, As a business architect there, they moved me at HR, a director position, because there were people that would not come to my meetings if I didn't have at least a director title through the HR system, which is, I think I'm off topic, but this is a real issue that we do see. I think a lot of organizations are putting business analysts in the product ownership role. And the IIBA even has a specialty certification in product ownership. The downside there is if that BA is seen as IT, the business area doesn't have a foot in the door. And a lot of the constructs of Agile framework is that the business is right there with you,
Absolutely, you're dead on, and very frankly, if the whole product owner, all of the value management, business analysis, whatever you want to call it, is on the IT side, we're back to the 1980s, and very frankly, while we did make a lot of good systems, I'm not sure we did it very effectively, and I don't really want to go back to a 3270 dumb terminal with, no, oh no, that would be terrible.
Right.
So you wrote this book, and the process of writing a book, and I want to just go down this path because I'm a multiple author, and I just find that people look and go, oh, I can't write a book. I can't do any of that stuff. But I'm firmly convinced that almost everybody has a book in them one way or the other. Tell me about actually writing the book and writing the book with a co-author.
Well, I think teaching business analysis for about 10 years before writing the book, I found that people were looking for a roadmap in how to do this. We were actually tapped on the shoulder of the publisher, would you write this second edition for an existing book? And in looking at that, we said, no, we think it's a different book now. And my co-author was in Montana. I live in Texas. So we had the geographical distance too, but we treated it like a project, and Kelley came down and we put the big whiteboard to it and, drew our roadmap out and kind of divided our chapters up for what we liked and said, but setting that roadmap in place was really key for what are the chunks that we have to go through, whether it's an email that someone sends in that says, make the button red, or it's a multi-year project to reinvent the way we do business on the front end or something like that,
The process of doing it, easy, hard, mean, what was
Oh,
your method of actually getting words on a piece of paper?
oh, it was really it. I am not a big writer. I am a numbers person. I love me some good Excel spreadsheets and all that stuff. And I had my doubt that I had a book in me, so to speak. But gosh, when you start explaining and be able to reflect on personal examples to bring that to life, I was pretty darn proud of what we had done. And I've got, we've got good cross references for what techniques you might use to do a certain task involved, and incorporated a lot of the IIBA's business analysis body of knowledge, PMI's business analysis practitioner's guide. So we did call it standard practices. These are tried and true ways that it's not just Billie and Kelley saying this is something brand new that you should do, but bringing it to life with examples and lots of time spent on drawing pictures of the different techniques and how to do that. But I sat on the back porch a lot and wrote.
Would you recommend that somebody does this if they think they might have a book in them? Would you recommend that they try?
I think it's personally rewarding. It's never going to be rewarding. Well, I guess if you wrote a bestseller, for the broad audience, you and me, we got a pretty thin slice of humanity, right? That's interested in our books. So you're not going to get rich off of this. And if you're trying to say, I can take a year off and do this, and the money will come back to me, maybe it comes back in speaking engagements like this and that type of thing, because you're paying me a bunch for this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But it's very personally rewarding, yes.
Who'd benefit from reading your book?
I think, number one, the people that perform business analysis. It really does give them a roadmap to start with, and then find out that there's a lot of efficiencies that we gain by having a repeatable process, and we don't reinvent the wheel every time. I think in the 50 years of business analyst, we had a template we had to fill out, a BRD or an SRS, and
those,
they were just checking the boxes, right? And so this gives those people that perform the business analysis a how-to, and even a more seasoned business analysis professional could consider this a refresher to layer onto the foundational levels that they have. Also, we did do a workbook that accompanies this. So they actually can go through the chapters and go through a case study and try their hand at it. You read things and you go, oh, this is really easy, but you start putting pen to paper and it's a different story with some suggested answers. I think number two, the people that consume the business analysis work. So it lets people know, solutions providers, what they can expect, how they should dialogue with a business analysis professional, reviewers, approvers of business analysis deliverables, again, letting them know what to expect, why we do things in this funnel way in which we're trying to capture all the splash in the beginning, and we finally get down to the details as we go into that funnel. And then managers, mentors, business analysis professionals, I think so many times people that are filling out their annual reviews and hopefully providing guidance for business analysts sometimes don't even know the responsibilities and the deliverables that they're responsible for, right?
Ooh.
So, yeah.
The one set of titles that you didn't mention that occur to me, as especially since I live a lot in the Agile world, is that it sounds like product owners should read this, especially since a lot of what they're doing is Maybe not deep end business analysis, but it is at least partially business analysis.
Yeah. I think they're performers of business analysis. I think they're in that first group.
If you woke up tomorrow morning, somebody handed you whatever your caffeinated beverage of choice is, a magic wand and 2 wishes with the power to change any 2 things impacting business analysis in the 2020s, what would that be and what would those be and why?
Well, I think stakeholder engagement is an area that's really lacking.
Why are we still talking about this?
We're still talking about it.
We've been doing that for 40, 50 years, unfortunately.
We still can't get stakeholders to engage. And why is that? I think as what's not getting any better is everybody's trying to do more with less time, right? And so we are not, as business analysis professionals, individual contributors. I can't make this stuff up. I've got to engage what I call crack users. Give me crack users. They're collaborative, they're representative, they're authorized, they're committed, they're knowledgeable. And when we don't get those, we need to raise our hand to sponsors, to project management to help with how do I get to the crack users? Because it is so darn important to deliver the right thing. And we can really decrease the amount of time that it takes to build out solutions if we're building the right thing in the first place, right? And I don't need to know everything up front, but we need to know what direction we should really be going. What problem are we really trying to solve and that type of thing. So I think that knowledge gap is my wish for the 2020s. But you've probably been looking at those Standish chaos reports for years and years, right?
Yeah.
It's always the very top problem for projects.
Yeah.
So that's not just a business analysis problem. Why aren't we solving that, right?
That is absolutely systemic. That's one.
Yeah.
What's the second?
I think the other is the shortage of people that stay in the business analysis profession because we haven't built this ladder for them to climb. There's a lot of people that move from BA to PM. They see that as a step up. Mastery of anything requires 10,000 hours of purposeful practice, right? And so I think there's a whole lot of business analysts out there or admins that are going and talking to folks very genuinely and writing stuff down and throwing that ball of fun over to the IT group with all of its gaps and all of its conflict. And they're trying to work through what should we deliver, throw up their hands and say, well, I'll build what I think this all means, right? So I think having that career path and respect within the organization. It's not just about money. That's a very short-term motivator, right? But being able to build in that, working with Walmart, for example, they have a real push for everybody every 18 months to be able to churn. You gotta learn more and do more and all that good stuff. They went from a junior senior BA to 5 levels. And that 5th level, very strategic business analysis going on there. I was lucky enough to be able to grow my career into business architecture. So we just need to really support business analysis professionals in their career path. And sometimes playing proxy for the business and talking with the IT folks, people feel a little degraded. Sometimes there's a little of condensation that they're talking down. But in reality, we're all just wanting to build better solutions that provide value to the stakeholders. So I just think it's critical.
Absolutely. Billie Johnson, co-author of Mastering Business Analysis Standard Practices, and a large subtitle, which I'm not going to repeat right now. This has been absolutely fantastic. I actually think the second one was better.
I think it was more relaxed, don't you? Yeah.
Absolutely. How can people continue the conversation?
You can contact me through my website at bajourney.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Billie Johnson CBAP, which stands for Certified Business Analysis Professional. And pick up the book, see what you think. I teach business analysis professional development classes at the University of Texas in a hybrid fashion. So those classes are offered virtual or online. I have my own classes through BA Journey, and my email, you can get to me at billie@bajourney.com with an IE, not a Y.
Super. I will have all of that contact information in the show notes. Billie, again, thank you. Is there anything else that you'd like to promote?
I don't think so today. Tom, thanks, though.
All right. Well, again, absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In Reread Saturday News, the improved play is one of the most powerful aspects of Marquet's suggested framework. Improve is Chapter 7 of Leadership is Language, the hidden power of what you say and what you don't. Improve is a time for stepping back from the pressure of getting stuff done to consider whether you are doing the right things right. We've spoken about the need to pause, reflect, and replan periodically. It's time to read the chapter. Link in the show notes to this week's installment of Reread Saturday and all previous installments of Leadership is Language. Learn to solve IT's dirtiest secret. Work input is how work gets to an organization or team. If you get it wrong, you are throwing time and money away. Simply put, poor work intake means no Agile for you. Jeremy Willits and I have written a book tackling the topic that'll be published by J. Ross Publishing in January 2024. In support of the book, we are building a live cohort-based course for Agile coaches, Scrum Masters, product owners, project managers, program managers, and portfolio managers, anyone involved in actually bringing work to the team to taming work intake. Link in the show notes to get on the waiting list for this cohort. We're looking forward to working with you to tackle our dirty little secrets. In the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 781, we'll wrestle with whether overprioritization's impact extends beyond poor leadership to bad products. Just because you have a prioritized backlog does not ensure delivering value. We'll also have a visit from Case Kostecki, who returns with her You Are Not Alone column. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?